Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Courtney Godfrey. Welcome to Fox 9 All Day. Let's jump right into headlines, shall we? Cleanup is underway after a possible tornado touched down near the Detroit Lakes area Monday night. 2 people were hurt and several homes were damaged as powerful storms knocked down trees and power lines just north of the city. The National Weather Service is on the ground today surveying the damage to determine whether it was, in fact, a tornado. And 6 months into Minnesota's paid family leave program, the state says about 75,000 people have benefited. The program provides paid, job-protected time off to bond with a new child, recover from serious health condition, or care for a family member. So far, nearly $600 million has been paid out, with an average weekly benefit of over $1,000. Meanwhile, critics argue the program adds cost and new challenges for employers, especially small business owners. DEED officials talked about this program and what they perceive as its success earlier today. Take a listen. We don't have the sound, I'm being told, so never mind. Let's move on to the next headline. Minneapolis healthcare workers are calling for stronger protections as 2 major hospital mergers move forward. They're urging Sanford Health, which is planning to acquire North Memorial, and Sutter Health, which is planning to acquire Allina, to sign a community benefits agreement to help protect workers, patients, and access to care ahead of a public forum hosted by Minnesota Attorney General's office tonight. And an environmental advocacy group announced today plans to sue Hennepin County over its trash incinerator, claiming the county isn't following state law requiring plans to reduce the amount and toxicity of incinerator ash. County leaders dispute those allegations, saying the ash is non-hazardous and that the facility remains a key part of the region's waste management system. The environmental groups who are behind this lawsuit addressed the media earlier today.
From burning trash is entirely different than ash in your backyard, fire pit where you have a couple logs. And it concentrates the chemicals and the metals like lead, for instance, first there's no safe level. Like, we're concerned about the landfill, obviously, but there's another concern, which is the transport of the ash and the handling of the ash from the facility in Minneapolis into the trucks, crossing the metro, and then getting it to Rosemont. There's points there where ash can be released, partially, large part, because of how fine of a material ash can be. You can imagine ash from your fireplace. You blow it and it can go everywhere. Like, it takes constant vigilance by county and contractors to make sure that ash doesn't escape. And sometimes it does.
Again, like I said, the county is disputing those claims, saying that the ash is not hazardous. And in other big news today, if you're a runner, you're going to want to listen up. The Twin Cities Marathon is moving to mid-October, beginning in 2027. So that'll be after this year's marathon. Organizers say years of warmer early October weather, including the cancellation of the 2023 race due to extreme heat, promoted the change. They say the later date should provide cooler, safer conditions for runners and a better overall race experience. And we are going to be talking to someone with the race later today all about that. That'll happen at 4 o'clock. You're not going to want to miss that interview. And some tragic news this morning when it comes to soccer. The U.S. Men's World Cup run is over after a 4-1 loss to Belgium last night in the round of 16. Malik Tillman briefly tied the match with a free kick, but Belgium answered almost immediately, pulling away with 3 more goals. The Americans' tournament run ends here, while Belgium advances to face Spain in the quarterfinals. Kara Savage, my producer extraordinaire, joining me today. Kara, it's so nice to have you. It was just you and me last week for a couple days. We got through it while our colleagues were on vacation. Have you recovered?
I've recovered. Have you?
You know what? I'm good. I had the weekend to take it all in on the boat, lay by the pool. I'm ready. I'm ready for this week. It took me a while to wake up yesterday. I think after a long holiday weekend, it's like This morning I set my alarm early to work out, and it was still.
That's not going to happen.
It was still a little hard. It was still a little hard, but I figured, okay, you had Monday to rest. It's Tuesday now. You got to get your butt in gear.
I feel like Tuesdays are harder for me. Today was hard for me to get out of bed.
Oh, but the Monday after a holiday, that is.
I know. I just feel like the Monday after the holiday, it's like, all right, let me just go to work. And then the next day, it's like, oh, wait, I have to do this all week.
For 5 more days or 4 more days.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Love our job.
We do love our job. It is fun. All right, Kara, you're going to jump in with me all day throughout the day, and I appreciate you for joining me, because I know you always have a lot to bring. You know, you're like the 23-year-old who brings that young knowledge to the show that we all need. I'm an old lady now, so
You're not an old lady.
I'm not hip. I'm not hip anymore, so you have to let me know what's hip in the world today. So you help out with that. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Well, cleanup is underway today just outside of Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, after a possible tornado touchdown there overnight. Just a bit ago, the Becker County Sheriff talked to the media and the public about cleanup efforts and where the county goes from here. Take a listen.
In the evening hours of June 6th, several deputies and other emergency responders were watching a potential severe weather system in western Becker County. At approximately 7:30 p.m., a possible funnel cloud was reported north of Lake Park. Emergency responders continued to watch and patrol the area. A short time later, strong winds, rain, and hail hit the area north of Audubon, with the storm moving to the east-southeast. A tornado warning was then issued for the Callaway and Rochard areas in Becker County. Downed trees, power lines, and other debris was then reported in the areas north of Detroit Lakes and Detroit Township, including the areas between US Highway 59 and County Highway 21. At approximately 8:14 p.m., the Sheriff's Office received a call saying that a tornado had touched down in the Oakland Beach area of Floyd Lake, causing extensive damage. Deputies and other emergency responders went to the area and confirmed extensive damage to homes, buildings, and trees. Responders went from home to home looking for residents and checking for injured. 2 individuals were transported to Ascension St. Mary's Hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. There was 1 other patient that went to the hospital by private vehicle. Residents were then directed or transported to State College, where emergency operations had been set up to assist displaced residents with shelter and other needs provided by the Minnesota Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Red Cross, Salvation Army, Becker County Public Health, Becker County Human Services, Becker County Administration Office, and Becker County Emergency Management. 31 residents have been assisted thus far by our EOC. At this time, only residents and those associated with property owners will be allowed to entry to the affected areas. The Becker County landfill is open for demolition and tree debris, and the City of Detroit Lakes compost site will also be open for smaller tree debris. For information regarding this incident, please contact the Emergency Operations Center at 218-850-7354. We didn't know what to expect. When you drive down, for example, Oakland Beach, and you see roofs off of houses and buildings tipped over, honestly, people just standing there in awe, not knowing really what had just happened. Yeah, it's very emotional.
All right, and the video out of Becker County today is pretty devastating. So, like the sheriff said, there were a few people injured in that presumed tornado, but they did not receive they received non-life-threatening injuries and were taken to the hospital for treatment. However, there's extensive damage to homes and cabins, docks and boats. Big cleanup efforts happening there in Becker County after last night's storms. The National Weather Service is also on the ground determining what level tornado touched down. And as I mentioned just a bit ago, 6 months into Minnesota's paid family leave program, the state says that it has helped about 75,000 Minnesotans. The program provides paid, job-protected time off to bond with a new child, recover from a serious health condition, or care for a family member. So far, the state says that they have paid out nearly $600 million with an average weekly benefit of just over $1,000. Earlier today, DEED officials addressed the media and talked about this milestone 6 months in to the program. Take a listen.
Joining us now to talk more about what this data tells them about how it's working and who it's working for is Evan Rowe, the Deputy Director of DEED, who runs the program for the state. Thanks for being with us, Evan.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, let's talk about some of these numbers here. So 6 months in, 75,000 Minnesotans have been approved. And your data says, while some paid leave programs have struggled to reach all populations, the data here is suggesting it is doing what it's intended to do, to kind of have a broad demographic reach to those who may not have been getting this benefit through their employer.
That's absolutely right, Rob. Certainly, the national data from the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that nationwide, about 25% of folks have access to paid family leave programs. Slightly different numbers for medical leave programs. But now in Minnesota, that number is not 27% anymore. It's much closer to 100% of Minnesota workers. And so what we're seeing in the data is that Minnesotans of all economic backgrounds across all sectors now have access to this program when they need it for caring for themselves, caring for a loved one, welcoming a new child into their home. And we've certainly seen strong interest and strong uptake in the program since the formal launch on January 1st.
Okay, so we'll get to some of the way the money's being paid out and replenished. Let's talk first, though, again, more about some of these demographics that you had talked about today. 54% of applicants of the 75,000 that have been approved, 54% of the applicants make less than $78,000 a year, 58% under the age of 40, 44% outside the Twin Cities metropolitan area. What does data like this tell you?
I think what this data really shows is that all Minnesotans are able to gain access to this program through this, right? The fact that low-income Minnesotans are able to take the time they need just the same way that higher-income Minnesotans have been makes a big difference, right? If you have a serious health condition, it doesn't care how much you make. It doesn't care about your age. It doesn't care whether you're man or woman, right? Like what this program really means is that all Minnesotans, the workforce, have access to be able to take care of themselves and take care of each other in a way that they didn't before.
Do you have any data though telling you? So you've got 75,000 approved. You talk about the percentage of applicants. We have the number of approved. What's the difference between how many have applied and how many have been approved? Are there a number that are not getting approved?
Yeah, in general, so this is a pretty ballpark number, but around 3/4 of applications are approved, and then some applications are also withdrawn. Say if somebody has a medical event that no longer clears up before they need to use the program, for example. And the most common reason for an application being denied is they don't have the documents that we need to verify the need for leave. I think you're well aware that we take program integrity really seriously at this agency across the state, and we need to get documentation from a medical provider if it's a leave for somebody's own health or for caregiving. We need information about the birth of a child if it's for bonding. So we take those responsibilities really seriously, and we follow up with applicants, and we try to make sure that it's as simple and straightforward a process as possible. But we take that responsibility to run a tight ship and run a program with integrity really seriously. I think that's what Minnesotans expect us to do.
Yeah, and certainly now more than ever with fraud concerns among social service programs and benefit programs being such high profile. So the question that a lot of people probably have is, in light of some of the other concerns or investigations we've seen, what do you do in this program to ensure that people aren't taking advantage of it and fraudulently obtaining benefits?
Well, it's a multi-layered approach, Rob, and really what it comes down to is making sure that we have strong controls on applicants when they're submitting their information. We get information from the employer, we get information from healthcare providers, and we use a lot and we leverage a good amount of administrative data to do checks in the background to review elements of those applications. It's a solemn responsibility that we have, and we again take it incredibly seriously.
Okay. And then lastly, I want to get into some of the money elements of this. Nearly $600 million now paid directly to Minnesotans on approved leave that come from a benefit count established, the money collected. Where does this stand in terms of what was expected to be paid out, and how has this impacted the pot of money that is there and available?
Yeah, so the 2023 legislature approved basically an initial appropriation of about $670 million to pre-fund the program, pre-fund those first set of benefits that we're paying out, and then on an ongoing basis, we collect premiums every quarter from employers and employees. Those get remitted every quarter. So again, yes, as you noted, for the first 6 months of the program, we've paid out just shy of $600 million of benefit payments. The first quarter, we collected about $340 million in premiums. We'll collect another batch of premiums later this month. So it's obviously something that we're watching very carefully and closely. But overall, interest in the program has been really robust, right? We've, as you noted, we've approved nearly 75,000 people as of late June. But overall, right, program is running largely as expected, and we're working hard to continue to make it make it run as smoothly and as boringly as we can. We want Minnesotans to be able to rely on this program when they need it. We don't want them to have to think about it. We want them to be able to apply to us and take the time they need to care for themselves or for a loved one.
Yeah.
And
boring is better in that case, as long as it's working. Does this, you have to look at this every year, though, and the reason I ask about the way the funds are going out and coming in is this is something that has to be then reevaluated every year to make sure that, you're taking in enough to cover it. Is this something where, have you been taking in enough then, or are we taking in more than we need? And, what does that impact this year?
Great question. We work with an independent actuary to review the program's financials on that. And again, in the first 6 months of the program, right there, it's a new program, and some of the data are still settling out. Obviously, application trends are changing a little bit. One really positive thing is that we in implementing the program, we were allocated implementation funding to build out the systems and the tools and hire the folks that we need to run the program. That part came in $70 million under budget. So that's a really positive impact. I think that'll help us. But we're working with the independent analysts who will make recommendations and help assess that as we look towards next year.
All right, Evan Rowe, the Deputy Commissioner with the Department of Employment and Economic Development. All
right. Great interview with Rob Olson there, talking about the paid family leave program in Minnesota and how 75,000 Minnesotans have taken advantage of the program since it began. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more after this. Welcome back. Minnesota is taking a fresh look at lifting its 3-decade-long ban on nuclear power plants. And one central Minnesota community wants to be the first to build a new one. Sherburne County Commissioner Andrew Holst joins me now. Thanks for joining me, Andrew. So tell me, Sherburne County wants to potentially house a nuclear reactor at a shuttering coal plant. What do you guys have in mind?
Well, we'd certainly like to start the conversation. Since Sherco, which is the facility that we have in Becker, Minnesota, is in the process of shutting down. It's a coal fire plant. it really limits our options as far as what we can have in the state to provide baseload power. And nuclear is certainly one of the strongest options to be able to move forward with that. Of course, the first step in that is starting to lift the nuclear ban that, as you said, has been in place for nearly 3 decades.
And state legislators, approved a $500,000 study to look into lifting that ban. Is that a step in the right direction, in your opinion?
Oh, I think so. We want to do this cautiously. We want to make sure we do it in the right way. But I certainly think we want to try to move forward. So I think having a study to put in place to understand what the pros and cons are is a good first step.
Many people would say that nuclear is the only way that Minnesota is going to get to their clean energy goal. So they have a goal of going carbon free by 2040. Can the state do it without building new nuclear plants? And as a reminder, the state right now has 2, Monticello, and then is it Prairie Island, where the other one
Yes.
is? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be difficult to reach those goals without having something like a nuclear plant as part of the equation. Right now, what we're seeing is the grid is putting in a lot more transmission lines coming in from out of state, which is it's a measure in the right direction. But the challenge with it is that these long transmission lines, there's transmission loss associated with that. So the facilities themselves are being built outside of the state, and then they're transmitting the power in. And what we would like to see is more facilities in the state that can help us get to that 2040 goal.
Now, data centers are sucking up a lot of our energy these days. How is our reliance on technology and AI fueling this need for more energy?
Well, what I would say is with the loss of the Sherco facility, Sherco 1, 2, and 3, we already saw a deficit on what we would need for baseload power. And it's important to differentiate between baseload power, which is just the steady state, basic level of power that you need every day, versus peak load power, which is, what you might see at the heat of the day in the summer, that sort of thing, when the air conditioners kick in and those type of systems. And so we already had a deficit with losing the Sherco facilities for that baseload power. And so we already needed something like some sort of replacement for that baseload power. And as we talked about it, we believe nuclear is the way to go. But certainly the addition of data centers adds to the needs of the grid. Now, that being said, many data centers that are going in today, if they're done correctly, are already paying for the necessary infrastructure to cover their additional energy needs. So they don't necessarily lead to an increased infrastructure cost for the consumer. It just depends on how the zoning is set up and how the data centers themselves are going in. It varies from case to case.
And now, I know this wouldn't be the first time that Sherburne County had a nuclear reactor. You guys were actually the forefront of nuclear 60 years ago. And Sherburne County was home to the nation's first rural nuclear power plant. But how are residents reacting to this idea today?
It generally pretty positively. I think nuclear power has been around for a long time. And a lot of things that people don't know is just how pervasive it's been over the years. As an example, I'm a former naval officer, and the Navy's been running nuclear reactors for going on 70 years and operating them very, very safely. There are small nuclear reactors in existence today that have been around for almost the same period of time, 60 to 70 years, in many college campuses across the U.S. There's one at Purdue University. There's one at University of Wisconsin-Madison. And there's these small nuclear reactors, right in the middle of campus that have been there for decades, and people don't realize it. So, we're getting to the point where I think people are understanding that yes, it's a technology that needs to be done right, but it's also a technology that we're multiple generations away from what we saw, go in the U.S. in the early stages with those Gen 1 and Gen 2 reactors.
Why is now a good time to lift that 32-year ban?
I think primarily because of the emphasis on the 2040 plan that was passed by the state legislature. We've got to find a way to fill the gap that we currently see with some of the more traditional power sources, such as coal. And the only way I think we're going to be able to do that is to look at some of these other types of technologies. And I think nuclear is mature enough at this point. We see it so well utilized in Europe that it's time to start thinking about it here in the U.S. And in Europe, it's considered a green technology just because of its lack of carbon emissions. There are still challenges to it. You still have to think about what's going to happen with the spent fuel and what type of reactor goes in and how much spent fuel those produce. So there are logistic challenges that you have to think through, but I think it's important to have nuclear as part of that conversation.
Yeah, you brought up the nuclear waste. So right now in Minnesota, the nuclear reactors store spent nuclear on site because the U.S. has no permanent place to store this radioactive waste. Do you think it's responsible for Minnesota to add nuclear reactors when we don't have anywhere to store the waste?
Well, I think the other thing we have to realize is that it depends on the generation of the reactor as well. Many of the more advanced reactors today create much less waste. But I do think it's an important part of the study that the legislature has put forward is not only is it studying nuclear power, but it's studying about what we do with the waste and that sort of thing. So I think that's a good point to the study that we need to take a look at.
Well, opponents also say that it's expensive to build. What's your take on that? What's your response to that?
Well, I think that's true, but I also think the price is coming down. When you look at some of the emerging technologies around small modular nuclear reactors, those are very small facilities. They're designed to be built and replicated, and it's designed to be built in such a way that it brings the cost down over time. I think those are very interesting technologies. As I said, the Navy's operated their version of small nuclear reactors for 70 years. Now, granted, it's a different technology, it's a different fuel source and all of those sort of things. But we're getting to the point where these technologies are getting to be modular, and we would like to be part of that conversation.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because much of the discussion centers on small modular reactors. How different are those from traditional nuclear plants?
Well, they're pretty significantly different just based on the size. You're talking about facilities that potentially could be closer to the size of a semi-trailer. So much smaller facilities. Now they're also they're much smaller as far as how much energy they produce compared to a large traditional plant. But the technology is very interesting, and we would certainly like to consider even being some sort of pilot project. There are a few going in across the U.S. As we speak, and we just find those technologies interesting.
There have been several other states I think 6 states in the last decade that have lifted bans on building new nuclear plants. Can Minnesota look to those states, and have you drawn from those states and what they've done when you think about possibly lifting this ban here in Minnesota?
Oh, I think absolutely. I think we don't necessarily have to do anything from whole cloth. There are other states that have lifted the ban. I think we can look to those states. I think our study should include taking a look at what those other states have done, how they've looked to move forward, how they look to modify their plans in order to take that into account. So I think we would be foolish not to take into account what other states have done and what other states are looking toward.
If the ban is lifted, what does this look like? I mean, are we talking one new reactor or several? I know that you want one there in Sherburne County, but what does that look like if we lift the ban?
Well, you have to remember that this is a decades-long process. And so even if we, even if we start the study now, and let's say the study lasts 2 years, just to pull a number. If you said at the end of that 2-year period, we want to have a new facility in Minnesota, you're still talking decades before it would actually come online. Now, that's short of there being some technology around the small modular reactors, which, in theory would be faster to be able to commission. But it's still a very, very long process through the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. So it's not something that would, just happen overnight.
Why do you think legislators are open to this now, after decades of, being completely against any conversation having to do with nuclear?
The legislature has actually had these discussions now for several sessions. And there's been a number of legislators that have been very open to the idea of maybe it's time to relook at that. And so I don't think it's not necessarily something that's happened overnight. There's been several that have been looking at this for many years. And I just think that as we've moved forward and as that conversation has continued, more and more individuals have become more comfortable with the idea of at least having the conversation.
Okay, I really appreciate you making the time. An interesting conversation that we will continue to have. Commissioner Andrew Hulsey from Sherburne County on possibly bringing back nuclear after a more than 30-year ban. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk about changes coming to SNAP. Stay with us. Well, a hot rotisserie chicken may soon be on the menu for those who receive SNAP benefits. A bipartisan bill in Congress would allow recipients to buy the chicken with federal food assistance, changing a long-standing rule that currently only allows some chicken, that same chicken, to be purchased once it's cooled down. Zach Rodvlid with the Second Harvest Heartland joins me now. Zach, this seems like an odd rule. Will you break down what this is all about?
Sure. Hi, Courtney. Thanks for having me on to talk a little bit about this. SNAP is one of the nation's largest anti-hunger programs. It serves over 40 million Americans with a benefit of about $6 a day. And it does come with some restrictions on what those dollars can purchase. There's what's known as the hot foods restriction is one of those things where today you can buy a rotisserie chicken that's been cooked and cooled and packaged, but you can't buy a hot one as part of this hot foods restriction. And so this provision that you're talking about would change that and open up another option for families looking for good budget-friendly options at the grocery store.
So why has hot chicken been prohibited for so long? What is it about the rotisserie chicken that got it banned?
Well, it's not specific to rotisserie chicken. It's all hot foods. And I think the idea here is that SNAP benefits are intended to be spent at the grocery store, at a food retailer level. It's not a supplement for restaurants or fast food kind of purchases. And so I think lawmakers chose to sort of ban all categories of food rather than get into specifics, but this is just one of those, and there are others too that are sort of obvious examples of where that doesn't really make sense, especially considering today's needs and what shoppers are looking for with grocery prices at rising and still high. This is just another budget-friendly option that can be stretched into many different meals for a family looking to stretch those dollars a little further.
I think about families who, both parents work, they're gone all day, and putting a healthy meal on the table is sometimes hard when you're crunched for time and you're also limited as to what you can buy. How does offering rotisserie chicken open up the healthy options for families?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us, I've got 3 kids, and you're in between work and evening activities and you need a quick option. It's one of those things that you can pick up that doesn't cost a lot, that can be stretched into lots of different kinds of meals paired with lots of other kinds of healthy, nutritious foods and is good to grab on the go. And I think that's what SNAP participants, like all of us, are looking for more of these days. And when you think about the SNAP program, most of the people who receive SNAP benefits who can work do work, and they are living sort of paycheck to paycheck. And so this is just one less thing that they have to worry about, one additional option that they have, a tool in the toolbox to help keep their families fed. And meat protein is in demand. It's one of those, one of those food items that are increasing in cost and hard to find sometimes when you're on a narrow budget. And so this just offers another option for people.
If Congress approves this, could it open the door to offering other hot foods?
Well, there is other legislation that would expand it beyond rotisserie chicken to things like sliced pizza or soup, hot sandwiches, the kinds of things that you can find at a lot of grocery stores today. I think there's some concern from retailers about expanding that too far. Again, I don't think anyone is intended for the program to be applied to restaurants or fast food chains or things like that. So there's probably a balance there, but it seems like this is the one that's picked up the most steam. It passed with broad bipartisan support out of the House and is now in the Senate for consideration. So likely to be the only thing that changes in the near term, but I think some of those other items could be on the table for discussion in the future.
Could adding hot rotisserie chicken increase the cost of the SNAP program, or do you think no?
No, people will still be working with the same amount of benefits they have, which, as I mentioned earlier, it's really only $6 a day. It is a supplemental program. It is not enough for anyone, especially with today's grocery prices, to feed themselves, and especially if they've got a family and growing kids, it's not enough. But so the benefit amounts stay the same. The program, there's no other changes to the cost of the program as that would result from this provision anyways, just an extra option for families.
How significant is that access to ready-to-eat food? I mean, we talked about the busy families, but, how significant is that?
Well, I mean, again, it's the more time you can save in looking for food or trying to figure out the next meal, the more time you have to help your kids with their homework or get them to their activities or, whatever life brings your way. It's just one less thing to worry about. And so that's why a lot of people, a lot of Americans are increasingly going to those kinds of options at the grocery store, myself and my family included. And so whether you're, using SNAP benefits to pay for those groceries or not, I think it's an option that all of us would like to have more of. And any way that you can stretch a dollar in today's economy is really important and can go a long way.
Like you mentioned, there is concern that opening this up, to rotisserie chicken could then expand into restaurants, fast food. How do you protect that from happening? How did this bill and the way that it's written protect that from happening?
Yeah, this is very narrowly applies only. I think it's called the Hot Rotisserie Chicken Act. I mean, it's very specific to this one food item at the grocery store. There's another another bill. I think it's called the Hot Foods Act, which expands it to a few others, but that one did not make it through the House. Remains to be seen, I suppose, what the Senate does. But it seems like the energy again is around this specific provision, and I don't think there's anybody that I'm aware of in hunger relief or in Congress that wants to see it expanded to all restaurants and all types of food and things like that. It is a supplemental grocery program, and it provides great value to the people who need it, but it also injects a lot of money into local economies by allowing people to spend their dollars at their local food retailer, which is money that circulates then in the local economy. It supports those retailers, supports the growers and producers that they source their food from. And so it's got a downstream benefit, economic benefit beyond just the people that it serves. And so we want to maintain that in the long term. And I don't think there's a lot of any serious conversation about going beyond maybe a few additional food items.
Yeah, it seems like just a silly little loophole, that you could buy the cold rotisserie chicken, but not the hot one. So
right. You can buy an apple, but you can't buy a sliced apple. They're just little peculiarities like that built into the SNAP program, which I think are worthy of discussion over time.
Great. I sure appreciate you, Zach, for joining us. Zach from Second Harvest Heartland, talking about how Congress is getting ready to pass a bill that would allow SNAP recipients to buy hot rotisserie chickens. Thanks, Zach.
Thanks very much.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Fox 9 All Day. I'm Courtney Godfrey. Thanks for joining us. Well, we are following some breaking news out of New York City today as a 37-story building has started to partially collapse. A 37-story former Pfizer office building, this is a live shot of the building right now out of New York City, right near Grand Central Terminal, is being converted into about 1,600 apartments right now. And in the middle of construction workers noticed that two critical steel support columns on the 21st and 22nd floors had buckled. After that, they noticed that several floors above them began to sag, and the building continued to shift after that initial failure. The construction site was immediately evacuated. A nearby school with 400 children, office buildings, and a hotel were all evacuated. They've also closed the streets around that building as a precaution. And local authorities, just in a press conference a few moments ago, announced that this could go into the night as they work to figure out how to stabilize this building before they allow business to continue as usual. Again, this happened while construction workers were doing work on converting this former office building into apartments. No injuries have been reported so far, largely because construction workers were the only ones inside when the structural problems were discovered. And they believe that this is just a localized partial collapse that remains possible. They do not believe that the entire building will come down, but could result in a localized partial collapse. And again, we're taking a live look at New York City, at this Pfizer building, as it has been evacuated, as the buildings, the residences, and the schools, hotels around it also have been evacuated out of abundance of caution. Kara Savage, this is pretty scary. 37 stories, not so tall for New York, but if it came down, it would be catastrophic. So.
And it's a very busy area. It's a very big touristy area. It's also where a lot of commuters go. So it's not a great spot to be frozen zone.
Right near Grand Central Terminal. So that is a very busy part of town, 42nd Street, 235 East 42nd Street, for those who know the area. And thank goodness that these construction workers noticed. They don't know what caused it. I mean, you have to imagine that because they are gutting this office building and turning it from offices into apartments, that something to do with the construction has triggered this, but we just don't know at this point.
Yeah, and I will say the developer, Metro Loft, released a statement about 40 minutes ago saying that this building is not at risk of collapse. He says he wants to. They say they want to confirm that the affected area is a small section of one of the two buildings on this site. The entire building itself is not at risk of collapse. So I'm not really sure.
But officials are saying that there still could be a partial collapse, which would be extremely dangerous. By the way, this developer's got to be in hot water now because.
I mean, and I'm sure he's just saying this. The developer's just saying this to.
Yeah. This is a massive office to residential conversion. And like I mentioned, investigators are examining whether the additional construction loads or other factors contributed to this buckling. The site has received several safety citations over the past year. That was according to the New York Post. So though it's not yet known whether those are connected to today's incident, it is worth noting that they have received some safety citations since this conversion project began. Full skyscraper collapse in Midtown Manhattan would be extraordinarily rare, especially because modern steel frame buildings are designed with significant redundancy. So that's why officials are emphasizing that while this situation is serious, they do not believe, like you said, the developer does not believe that the entire building will come down. Still a scary situation, though, in New York City. I mean, if I was anywhere near that building, I would be getting as far away from it as possible, just out of an abundance of caution.
And this started at 8 a.m. today, and about 2 hours ago, FDNY said that the building has stopped moving. I'm not really sure exactly what that means with...
A building should never move, just to be clear.
Right. To be clear, the building should not be moving, but that means from 8 a.m. until about 2.5 hours ago, it was moving?
Okay. In other news, Kara, I don't know if you heard, but Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen has announced he is retiring. This is one of the astronauts that circled the moon recently in the Artemis II shuttle. So he says that he is stepping down from a full-time astronaut role come September. He is with the Canadian Space Agency. So the Canadian Space Agency says he will pursue new professional opportunities, although he has not said what those new professional opportunities will be. I have to wonder what this means for the Artemis mission, losing him.
I guess I'm not sure how involved he is in the Artemis 3 mission but also I feel like I'd get to a point where you're like, okay, I made it around the moon, how much better could it get?
Your career can't really top that.
Right.
Once you've circled the moon, which is more than 99.99999% of the world can say, yeah, you can't really go up from there. So
no, I think I would be done as well.
Yeah, he spent more than 30 years in the Canadian space program, so he's done his time. He's probably ready to just go be with his family. He circled the moon. He saw what most people will never see in their lifetimes.
Yeah, he's had enough.
It's like, don't risk it.
Maybe put his family through enough stress for his lifetime.
Man, I'll tell you.
Right.
Speaking of people who are hanging up their hats, Cristiano Ronaldo, this is his last World Cup.
Yeah, he's done.
He's done.
As of yesterday.
How old is this guy,
He's
Kara?
41 years old.
41. I mean, it's time. That is like you're living in the nursing home in professional sports world. That is old.
Yeah,
as a professional athlete. The fact that he's made it this long is pretty wild.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people thought that the last World Cup was going to be his last. So I think he was like, all right, let me just try one more time, fit in one more. Whether he should have or not, it's up for debate. But
yeah, I guess he was tearful. I don't know if I'd say full on crying, but he shed some tears after the last game of his 6th and final World Cup appearance. Portugal's 1-0 loss to Spain in the round of 16 on Monday had Ronaldo in tears. I mean, I would be,
I would be too.
Yeah, it was like I watched one of the United States players last night. He was clearly crying. He was trying to cover his shirt with his face, and you can't understand working like that's all you do your entire career. That's all you do. That's all you know.
Yeah.
And you have this chance every 4 years, on the biggest stage in the world.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
I would cry too.
And then to lose, and then for him to not only lose, but then know it's his last. Yeah, I mean, I hope he's got some good retirement plans. Maybe,
I'm sure he does.
Maybe he'll go into coaching.
True, a lot of people do. And I mean, yeah, and I will say yesterday he only had 19 touches throughout the whole game. So on Monday's game, he only had 19 touches.
So what you're saying is it's time for him to just go out to pasture, Kara.
Maybe. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying and while Spain's lowest scorer had 34 touches or 35 touches. So it's kind of like, all right, maybe.
Yeah,
it's for the best. He's an icon, and he always will be.
He said after Monday's game, he said, it's time to move on.
Yeah.
He said, I gave it my all, I gave my best, and I leave with a clear conscience. So good for him. He never got a World Cup title, and he never got a World Cup final appearance.
But people will be wearing his jersey forever. So.
Forever. He's an icon.
Yeah.
So happy for him. Can we also talk about this? Because this is all over my social media. I don't know about you. Anne Hathaway.
Yes.
Does not age.
She does not.
She recently announced that she is pregnant again. How old is she? Can you look that up? She's 41, I think. I have seen.
So same age as Ronaldo. She's 43. She's
43. Older. She's pregnant with her 3rd child, I believe. I saw side by side today of her when she was pregnant in 2016 and her while she was pregnant in 2026, a decade apart, and the woman looks like
she's aged backwards.
She has aged backwards.
I know.
I don't know if she's just sitting in a freezer at night, every night when she goes home. She might be.
I mean, I know that it's a whole thing about her. She's very, very serious about her sun care. So she wears full body coverings when she's out in the sun. I have seen that in the past. So I know she's very, very strict about those kinds of things. And I know she doesn't drink.
Okay.
So
there we go.
Those might be your answers.
Those are the keys to the fountain of youth. It is true. I mean, when you see people who do not let their skin see sunlight, they are pale, but dang, they do not age.
They do not age.
And then I remember when I was younger, I saw this woman on Oprah Winfrey. I don't even know who she was, but she said all growing up, her mother had them in large brim hats, long sleeve shirts, and the woman was 50 years old and looked like she was 30. So if you live in a cave, you'll never age. But
but also at the risk of living in a cave.
Is life worth living at that point? Well, if you're Anne Hathaway, it probably is.
Yes.
But also, yes, alcohol is so bad for your skin.
So bad.
No sun, no alcohol. Sounds like a bore to me, Kara, but
No sun, no alcohol.
boring. But
There
if you
you
want
go.
to stay young, got to be boring. There's also a possibility that she is an extremely wealthy celebrity and she's had a very good facelift. I'm not counting that out as
100.
well.
Well, yeah. And she probably has the best skincare products in the world and the greatest, so.
Yes, she has a home chef. She has a personal trainer. She's probably got an esthetician in her house on call. She's probably getting all the lasers, all the peels, all the everything.
And if you're getting all of that, I would hope you look how she looks.
But she looks
incredible.
She looks exceptional
She
compared
does.
to other celebrities, and that's what gets me. That's what really gets me. But since you said the no sun, no alcohol, it does make a little more sense.
Yeah,
so.
it's like, you can have all the best products in the world, but if you are laying out in the sun every day, it's not going to help you out.
Yeah. Anyway, the internet is ablaze talking about Anne Hathaway. So if you're like us, if you're on that corner of the internet, it's all the talk right now. All right, Kara Savage, thanks for chatting with me. I appreciate you. We're going to take it to a quick break, but when we come back, our very own Erica Marisik is going to give you a full breakdown of the weather. Stay right there. Welcome back. Erica Marisik joins me now to talk about weather. But before that, Erica's been gone for over a week, right? You
Yeah,
got a
just
nice
about
little,
a week.
Nice little vacation with your family. You went up to British Columbia.
We did. It was fantastic. We actually were gone during the heat wave from last week. So whenever it was like 90 here, I was in 50-degree weather.
You were skiing?
Yeah. So I missed out on that.
What's it like skiing in July?
It's kind of trippy. My sister-in-law and I were saying that it feels like we should be getting ready for Christmas. And it's like seasonal confusion because you're like, why is there snow in July?
Yes.
And it's real snow too because they don't make fake snow up there.
No, and Sunshine's incredible. That's where you were,
Yeah.
Sunshine, right? Sunshine's incredible. There's several great ski resorts up there in that same region, but Sunshine's one of my favorite. It's great for families. I love British Columbia. Skiing in British Columbia is just
It's
amazing.
beautiful, like so scenic.
But I think it's just so high up. They
Yeah.
have snow almost year round. I think there are like 2 months where they don't have it, but Yeah, it's incredible. I've only been there in the winter. Great fluffy snow, open tree runs. Yeah, I just love it up there. I'm so glad you got to go. I would like to ski in July. Usually I think you have to go to South America for that, but...
Well, I've heard it's pretty rare that they have the resort open in the summer because I think it's been about 35 years since they've had it open in July.
They got a lot, British Columbia got an unusual amount of snow. So while all the U.S. resorts like Utah, Colorado had like nothing this year, British Columbia was getting dumped on. Can you tell I love to snowboard? I know all of this. They were getting dumped on all winter, like massive amounts of snow. So yeah, they've been able to extend their season. But was it slushy or was it still pretty good?
It was a little slushy. I wasn't used to the skis that I was using, so I also kind of it was fun, but I was
they were
struggling.
rentals.
Yeah.
Not the same when you're on rentals.
Yeah, but it was still great.
And
the weather was nice too because I didn't have to put on the full gear. I just wore a raincoat and waterproof pants.
Lovely.
And it was great.
And you went to Lake Louise.
Really pretty there.
And the water is like this turquoise blue naturally. Isn't it incredible to see in person?
Yeah, crystal clear. It's actually crazy.
Yeah.
Like I have not seen anything like it ever.
Yeah, it's quite a sight for anyone who likes the outdoors. Highly recommend going to Lake Louise and the Banff area. Also, downtown Banff is super cute.
So cute. I did a lot of shopping there, probably more than I should have, but that's okay.
That's all right. We'll forgive you. You know, Canada is the home of Lululemon.
And I did buy some Lululemon when I was there.
You have to. It's part of the tour.
I told myself that I wouldn't. I was like, I shouldn't buy anything there that I could buy in America. And Lululemon was the second store that I went into.
That's fine. You were buying some Canadian artifacts. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and my mom was saying that, so I bought a matching set, and my mom was saying how I can think of the family vacation when I wear it. So that's a good excuse to buy it. So.
Well, you're at the gym.
Yeah.
No, you're at the gym. We do have some slight severe weather moving into the area tonight.
Yeah, so at the moment right now, the storms wanted to get a little head start. So there are 2 storms out towards the west and 1 severe warning right now. That is for northwestern Renville, also north central Redwood, and southeastern Yellow Medicine County. And with that, it's just more on the lower end in terms of severe storms because the wind is possibly up to about 60 miles an hour, which is still a lot. And then there could be hail of the size of a $50. So that's the only warning out right now for the moment. And then there's also non-severe thunderstorms happening around the Stearns County area and a little rumble up near Todd County. These are going east, and I expect there to be a few more throughout the afternoon, evening, into parts of the overnight. There's a level 2 risk in that yellow west of the metro, and that kind of cuts right in the middle of the Twin Cities. So the western half of the metro is in that level 2 risk. And then the green level 1, so that's eastern half of the metro into western Wisconsin. And for the early part of the afternoon, the threat is potential for an isolated tornado, also hail, wind, but turns more into a wind hail threat into the evening. And then even into the overnight, looking out for some flooding because there could be heavy downpours across the area and storms that kind of repeat the regions that they go over. So that is why there's the flood threat. These are going to continue into tomorrow morning, more just showers, thunder showers early on Wednesday. So the severe threat won't be here tomorrow morning, but it is going to be wet outside. And then for tomorrow, that map is going to shift south and east. So southeast Minnesota is in a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. So a pretty active next 2 days. And then after that, it quiets down. And it's really nice on Thursday. High temperatures, low 80s. But then after that, it gets crazy again. And I do think a heat wave is going to be back with high temperatures that'll return to the low 90s and even mid 90s and humidity. So.
Steamy.
Yeah, I can't escape this one. I can't just plan a vacation, leave the area again.
You can't leave every time it gets really hot, Erica. That is not allowed. It's Jared Piepenberg gave me this term, air you can wear. And
basically.
I really like that. So it sounds like later in the week it's going to be hot and it's going to be air you can wear.
Yeah, he arrives Saturday, more into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If you've got events tonight, then you might want to think about rescheduling if they're outside or move them inside. Sounds like the rain is coming. Erica, we appreciate you. I'm glad you had a great vacation.
Wonderful.
Thanks for coming back because we missed you doing the weather.
I've been on here, I feel like in 2 weeks.
It's been about 2 weeks. We missed you.
Yeah, I missed you guys too.
All right. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Well, as we've been discussing throughout the afternoon, there has been a possible tornado touchdown outside of Detroit Lakes. That happened overnight last night in Becker County. This is a live look from our chopper right now. We are surveying the storm damage there outside of Detroit Lakes. We heard from the Becker County Sheriff not too long ago, who told us that there were 2 people who suffered non-life-threatening injuries in this possible tornado. It struck the west side of Floyd Lake, that is just north of Detroit Lakes, and this all happened last night. Tornado warnings were being issued for the area ahead of that storm. But damage is widespread around that area. Numerous trees, as you can see, are down. Homes, as you can see, have been damaged. Cabins have been damaged. Docks, boats. We've seen plenty of video of boats capsized in the water and debris scattered across lake properties. Local emergency crews have been surveying the damage, while utility crews are constantly working to get the power back. Residents are being urged to stay away from power lines. You can see there is a car on the street, so they are allowing residents, it appears, to come in. Maybe if you live there, you're allowed to go in. I mean, obviously, insurance companies are going to have to be surveying this damage as well as the National Weather Service. The National Weather Service has not yet officially confirmed that a tornado touched down. Survey teams were expected to be there this afternoon inspecting the damage to determine whether it was a tornado, and if it was, assign it an EF rating. So while we know that, strong straight line winds can also do this kind of damage, whether it's a tornado, whether it was just straight line winds, whatever it was, we know that these residents are dealing with a lot today. Some people have suffered severe damage to their homes. Like I said, 2 people were injured, and many people are looking for a place to stay tonight, as you can see on that outbuilding or garage or barn building there. That roof is almost completely missing. So lots of damage done there in Becker County. There's another house with a roof ripped off. Unofficial assessments from local meteorologists suggest that the damage is consistent with something around an EF2 tornado, but we just can't know at this point until the National Weather Service confirms that on the ground. So again, that's been a live look from our chopper there in Becker County as we continue to follow that possible tornado that tore through the Detroit Lakes area last night. Shifting gears here, buying a farm isn't easy, especially for young farmers just starting out. Now, a new Minnesota program is hoping to make it easier for young farmers to enter into the farming business by offering down payment grants to eligible first-time farmers. Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, Tom Peterson, joins me now. Tom, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me this afternoon.
All right, so the Department of Agriculture is offering up to $20,000 to help first-time farmers buy their first home. Talk to me about this program.
Yeah, it's really a nation-leading program to try to help, pass that farm from the next generation. And that's something I've done through and gone through, and it's a really, important piece. Minnesota, has generational farms. Farming's expensive, land's expensive. Yeah, you have a lot of different farming dynamics. We lost 1,000 farms in the last 2 years. And so when we look at how important it is to keep folks farming, to help people get into farming, buy that first farm, that is really important. We have a lot of people that are interested in getting involved in agriculture and farming. And so we're really excited to be able to provide this opportunity with support from the legislature and interested parties. So folks can get $20,000 to help with that first down payment of that farm. We have $1.64 million. I think this is the third round of this. We've helped 130 people buy their first farm with this grant. So that's pretty exciting to me.
Who qualifies for the program for these grants?
Yeah, and so you have to have applicants have to have made under 250,000 a year in gross income, and you have to so you have to be kind of a newer or beginning farm to help unlock that financing, and that's really who we're trying to target. Some of these folks, and you can purchase. From a family member and piece like that. We do have safeguards involved in that, but a lot of times that's really, complicated. So you do have to have, be able to demonstrate some knowledge of farming and have had some farming in your background to be able to do this. So to me, it's an exciting program.
Tom, we've heard a lot about the aging farming program population. How urgent is it to get younger people farming?
Yeah, it's actually, the average farmer looks a lot like me, late 50s, and that's been going up, every year. We do an ag census and that bumps up every couple of years. We're almost to the average age of a farmer in Minnesota being, 60 years old. And so as we look at trying to pass those farms on to another generation, that's just really incredibly important. So, and when you look at the number of younger people, it's less than 10% of our farmers are under the age of 35.
Wow. What would you say the biggest barrier is to young people getting involved in farming?
Yeah, it really can be land access, and buying that first farm. It's expensive. And again, this is meant to be an assistance program. It's not meant to buy the whole farm. It's to help you go in on your down payment. And I can tell you that personally, when I bought my first farm, that was tough to come up with that down payment. I always tell people I sold my baseball card collection to help raise money, to buy that first farm and, to scrape together dollars. And but that has really helped to give folks a leg up to be able to go to the bank and say you got this extra, cash. That is helpful and it has been successful.
Are there certain parts of Minnesota or certain crops and livestock that you hope this program supports? Where is the need?
It's really been interesting as we developed this program. We really thought it would be for smaller farmers and, fruit, vegetables is definitely a real emphasis for the department. But we've kind of seen it all around. We've seen people invest in whether it's grain farming or cattle and livestock. A lot of small ruminants, so like goats, sheep, are good entryways into agriculture. But really, that fruit and vegetable has been really helpful. But you do see people getting into agriculture in all parts of the state. We're really concentrated around the Twin Cities area, because a lot of those folks may be doing some kind of direct marketing or doing like a farmer's market. And of course, you want to be where you have a market. But you think about cities like Rochester, Moorhead is one of the fastest growing cities in outstate Minnesota, the St. Cloud area. I was in Duluth this last weekend at the Duluth Farmers Market and visited with farmers there. So again, kind of all over the state, but those being near a core city is also very helpful.
Even with the grant, though, land prices remain extremely high. Can this help?
It really does, and that's what I always think's funny, because people say, oh, you could buy 2 acres with that in some parts of the state or something like that. But, as I travel the state and work with folks in this, people tell me like this helped me, be able to go to the bank, to leverage more dollars to get into this. And like I said, we've been able to help 130 farmers in the first 5 years of this program buy their first farm. And people will tell me that all the time, how important and impactful this program has been. So we'll continue to build on that. And again, appreciate legislators of both parties supporting this program.
What does the future look like if we don't bring in more first-generation farmers?
Yeah, consolidation. We already see that in Minnesota, but Minnesota, we have a really good suite of programs. We don't just have this program. We have a beginning farmer tax credit that helps transfer land from one generation to the next. That's if you're a beginning farmer. We also have a beginning farmer loan program within the department that offers low interest loans to farmers. So many farmers, we're able to actually offer them kind of a suite or a package to go in to help them get started into farming.
Commissioner Tom Peterson with Minnesota Department of Agriculture, I so appreciate you joining us to talk about this program.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Applications opened on July 6th through the Minnesota Department of Agriculture's Down Payment Assistant Grant. Application process closes on August 31st. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Minnesota is home to a small but growing bison industry, and one southern Minnesota family has turned a couple of animals into a thriving business. Welcome in Craig and Elizabeth Fisher from Sleepy Bison Acres. Guys, thanks for joining me.
Hey, happy to.
Hello, good afternoon.
Okay, bison farming. I mean, how did you guys get into this?
Yeah, well, it was one of those things, you know. I just happened, you know, shoot my first buffalo when I was years old, playing Oregon Trail, my mom's computer, and it just took off from there. I really didn't see any bison until my last year of 4-H. I was at the Minnesota State Fair, came across the Minnesota Buffalo Association. The couple that was there became our mentors, and we got into the industry from there. It just made a lot of sense for us. In terms of it's something different. It's very healthy for you. There was a lot of checks that hit the box.
So what you said, bison is super healthy. What makes it healthier than, you know, ground beef, let's say?
Yeah, so it's the only red meat that's endorsed by the American Heart Association as heart healthy. Has been for decades. So it's low in fat, high in protein, high in a lot of the like your B vitamins, iron, zinc, selenium, stuff that your body really needs, and that nutrient dense of a balance, it's really hard to find. It's really hard to beat bison. So it's just really good for you, and it tastes good too.
What's the difference between bison farming and cattle farming?
Oh,
Patience.
yeah. There's some patience that's needed, but then you know, at times there's a little bit of adrenaline too. So for the most part, they know how to take care of themselves. They've been here for tens of thousands of years. It's just up to us to be a good steward for them, give them a good space to keep them happy and healthy, and from there they take care of themselves.
I'm curious why you say patience.
You can move a bison anywhere they want to go. So
That makes
it's
sense.
a little more hands off.
I heard that you guys were going to stand in front of the herd, but that they weren't cooperating. So, okay, that makes a little more sense now.
Yep.
Speaking of that, I mean, what is a typical day like for you down there on your bison farm?
Oh, there's a lot of variation from day to day because we have bison at a couple different places. And it depends on, is it the cow herd? Is it the breeding season? Is it calving season? Is it the winter? How often do we need to feed them? Like, how much grass is growing? How fast is the grass growing? How much rain have we had? There's a lot of different factors that create the day-to-day activities. Some days you don't have to do anything with them, and you can check on any crop ground you got or chase after the kids playing baseball or whatever.
Okay, so there are currently around 4,000 bison being raised commercially across Minnesota. 53 different ranchers are in the bison business. You guys are one of the bigger ones. But in the late 19th century, bison were almost extinct in America. They've made a comeback. How do you go from extinct to raising livestock and using them for food?
Yeah, I think it's just like the industry nowadays, where it's incremental buildup. We went from 30 to 60 million down to less than 1,000, and it takes time to build numbers back up. Twins are not very common with bison. It's 1 in 10,000, so it's one at a time that you're building up those numbers, and it takes time and takes a lot of careful management and thoughtful management. But the people that are in this industry, they're in this industry for the love of the bison. So they're in it for the long haul. They want them to be around for a long time.
I mean, I mentioned that the industry is growing here in Minnesota. 4,000 may not seem like a lot, but you said, they only birth one at a time. So 4,000 is pretty large. You have been big advocates of this industry and bringing more people in to raise this kind of livestock and just open up people's eyes to the possibility of looking at bison as a livestock possibility for anyone looking to get into the business. Why do you guys advocate for this livestock so much?
I think it's pretty easy when it's something you believe in. If you can stand behind it, it's pretty easy to back that industry up and want to share that with other people. We love it. So it's
and
easy.
The family that we've built around it. We just love our group, and
It used to be that bison was super hard to obtain. I mean, you'd have to go to your local farmer's market, and even then, your farmer's market might not have it. It was pretty hard to find, but now it's popular. I mean, people want bison meat, like you said, mostly for its health benefits. It tastes great. What do you think is driving this increased demand?
Well, I mean, if you look here, right behind us, we got people are finding out the taste. There's bison wins awards at some places. It comes down to how is it made, how is it cooked. When the word gets out and people try the bison, they know that it tastes really good, and when it's available, then they go after it. So that's one of the reasons that I think we talked about, and Elizabeth kind of started the food trailer, is the people don't know what bison tastes like or maybe how to make it. So it's how do you make it simpler for the average consumer to try it and not be afraid, have it in a form that's easy to digest and have that benefit of enjoying the bison.
Do you ever see this going more commercial? I mean, do you think we'll be buying bison burgers at your big box grocer, or do you think this will remain a niche market?
Well, it is available at some of the bigger stores, but to what level, I'm not sure. There's more beef processed in one day than bison in 1 year, so it's I think it's better for the industry to keep building instead of trying to do anything too dramatic. Try and just that slow build is good for the industry. It's good for the consumers. So that product is definitely around. But yes, it's going to be harder to find just because the numbers aren't there like maybe they are with beef.
Is Minnesota a good place to raise bison? It sounds like you guys would like to see more Minnesota farmers doing it.
Yeah, it's an awesome place. It's an awesome place.
Why?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Minnesota's home. It's hard to beat. So
And, I don't know, our land.
yeah.
It's good for us.
The bison have been in all 50 states, for again, thousands of years. So they're perfectly adapted, whether it's the middle of a snowstorm in Minnesota or it's the hot heat. It doesn't really matter for them. They've adapted. They know how to live and thrive. I think bison's a good place wherever you got them.
When you started your bison farming business 13 years ago, there was not, it sounds like from articles I've read, there wasn't really a market for bison meat. What have you seen in those 13 years since you started with those first 2 bison on your land?
Yeah, for us, it like a lot of producers that start out, you start talking to family, you start talking to your local community, and you try and build from there. So we're at 3 different farmers markets, St. Paul, Prior Lake, Mankato. You kind of get to know what customers want there, what customers like, what do we eat? And then we just tried working with whoever we could that was interested. So whether it's schools, nursing homes, local businesses, the candy store by Jordan, different places, you just, bison's one of those funny things. It's an easy conversation when you get it started. You can always find a friend and through the industry. So.
And you guys started a food truck, as you mentioned. It's right there behind you. How long has that been going on, and what prompted you to do that? How has it been?
So this will be our 3rd year. We started it because the biggest question was, how do you make bison? And so we're like, well, we make the bison, we eat the bison, let's show people. And
Let's share it.
Big convincing. We got the food trailer, and we take it all over the place. We're doing some county fairs, local events. Yeah.
I read that the bison are actually good for the environment, for the prairie land.
Yeah, bison are a keystone species. So the keystone species basically means that everything else ties back to them, whether it's the soil, whether it's birds, whether it's turtles or different plants, species. They've adapted to thrive with the bison that have been there for the last tens of thousands of years. So the more you get them back on the land, the more the land will respond. And then it just comes down to management and managing the bison so they're happy. The environment, the soil, the meat quality, everything's better.
Very interesting. Well, thank you for being an advocate for this growing industry. Craig and Elizabeth Fisher with Sleepy Acres Bison Farm. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Happy to.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. they have to do. They had some pretty amazing shots not too long ago that we took live, where you can see the extensive damage there in Becker County. So this possible tornado tore through the area Monday night. 2 people were hurt and sent to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, and several homes were damaged as powerful storms knocked out trees and power lines north of Detroit Lakes. The National Weather Service is on the ground today surveying the damage and trying to determine if it was a tornado and what EF level it was, if it was. In other news, 6 months into Minnesota's paid family leave program, the state says about 75,000 people have already benefited. The program provides paid, job-protected time off to bond with a new child, recover from a serious health condition, or care for a family member. So far, nearly $600 million has been paid out, with an average weekly benefit of more than $1,000. Meanwhile, critics argue the program adds cost and new challenges for employers, especially small business owners. Here was the Department of Economic Development earlier today talking about these new numbers.
Thanks for joining us for another paid leave update now that we've completed 6 full months of operation. I'm pleased to report things continue to move smoothly and efficiently with the program. As of June 30th, we've approved nearly 75,000 people to take paid leave, which of course includes bonding leave for parents to connect with babies, medical leave, family leave, as well as safety and military leaves. Also want to note, I'm very grateful to my colleagues at DEED who have made the program launch so smooth, efficient, and helpful for people across the state.
I'd say we're still in the early days. Even six months in, we're really, I think we're still in learning mode, and we're always going to be in learning mode because our objective here is to always be working to make this program run better. And I would even say just what we've really been focused on for these first 6 months are what are the things just in terms of our own internal operations that we can do to make the experience as good as possible for applicants, for employers, for healthcare providers, and just a couple examples of those kinds of items that we've done over the first few months. We've worked to deploy partnerships with providers like Epic in the hospitals to make it easier for medical certifications to get submitted directly to the department. That takes a huge burden off of healthcare providers, takes a huge burden, really makes the applicant experience even smoother. We've worked to try to improve the employer portal to make it easier for employers to provide us with the information that we need to correctly adjudicate a claim. We've constantly been working to update our applicant communications and messaging, and just even some of the workflows within the system to be able to manage that. I think we're going to continue to be looking to see what are the things that would require a statutory change. But we're really, I'd say even just in these first 6 months, we've been really focused on what are the things that we can do ourselves to make this program run as smoothly as possible, and continuing to have that spirit of continuous improvement to deliver a really great experience for Minnesotans.
Bring my mic up. There we go. That was the Deputy Commissioner of Workforce Services and Transformation at the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, Evan Rowe, talking about the Minnesota Paid Leave Program and how many people it's helped and how much money has been doled out over the last 6 months since its inception. Moving on to other headlines, Minneapolis healthcare workers are calling for stronger protections as 2 major hospital mergers move forward. They're urging Sanford Health, which is planning to acquire North Memorial, and Sutter Health, which is planning to acquire Allina, to sign a community benefits agreement to help protect workers, patients, and access to care ahead of public forum hosted by the Minnesota Attorney General's office tonight in Minneapolis. And an environmental advocacy group announced today plans to sue Hennepin County over its trash incinerator, claiming the county isn't following state law requiring plans to reduce the amount of toxicity of incinerator trash. Ash, excuse me, I cannot speak this afternoon. What day is it? What time is it? Who knows? County leaders dispute the allegations, saying that the ash is non-hazardous and that the facility remains a key part of the region's waste management system. Earlier today, those environmental agencies that are suing the county spoke to reporters. Take a listen.
I mean, when you think about it, the ash from burning trash is entirely different than ash in your backyard, fire pit where you have a couple logs. And it concentrates the chemicals and the metals like lead, for instance, for which there's no safe level. Like, we're concerned about the landfill, obviously, but there's another concern, which is the transport of the ash and the handling of the ash from the facility in Minneapolis into the trucks, crossing the metro, and then getting it to Rosemont. There's points there where ash can be released, partially, large part, because of how fine of a material ash can be. You can imagine ash from your fireplace. You blow it and it can go everywhere. Like, it takes constant vigilance by county and contractors to make sure that ash doesn't escape, and sometimes it does.
All right, you were just hearing from individuals representing environmental advocacy groups suing Hennepin County over potential ash that may be getting into the air at the trash incinerator in downtown Minneapolis. Which, by the way, county leaders dispute is happening. The Twin Cities Marathon is moving to mid-October, beginning in 2027. So organizers say years of warmer early October weather, including the 2023 race having to be canceled due to heat concerns, prompted the change. They say the later date should provide cooler, safer conditions for runners and a better overall race experience. We are going to have the race director on our show in just about 10 minutes to talk about this decision, what it means, and what runners should know heading into next year. And sad news last night. Anybody watching, it was a hard one to take in. The U.S. Men's World Cup run is over after a 4-1 loss to Belgium in the round of 16. Malik Tillman briefly tied the match with a free kick, but Belgium quickly responded with almost immediately with another goal, pulling away to get 3 more, and the Americans' tournament ended there on home soil in Seattle, while Belgium advances to face Spain in the quarterfinals. Okay, Kara, I know you were watching the game last night. They just really didn't show up, let me tell you.
No, they did not. Yeah, that was rough.
You were watching the game and you were just like, there was a clearly better team on the field, and sadly, it was not the Americans.
Yeah, and it was very frustrating, but I mean, I'm not a huge soccer fan, as we've said before, but it was sad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to be a soccer fan to watch that game and
know
the Belgium was the better team.
Yeah.
And
yes,
listen,
it was disappointing, but I mean, it happens.
America does not. Most American children grow up playing soccer. Youth soccer is huge in America. But when we get into college and then professional sports, there's just so many more options in America. We have baseball, we have football, we have so many things that take up people's times and talents that soccer just is not as big as it is in Europe. And I think that played into Belgium being a much better team. So, I mean, if we were as into soccer as they were, our soccer team would be LeBron James and Anthony Edwards and all the stars, because that would be the only sport for them to play. But we got a lot more things going on here in America.
Yeah, we do.
And I'm sure everyone was happy to see us lose. So
I'm sure, yeah. And I mean, we won round of 32 for the first time since 2002, so we have to be proud of ourselves for that.
It would have been great to go to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
It
would have been incredible. Yeah.
But man, oh man, it was like watching a high school team. It was like it
was bad.
Truly like watching a high school team play a professional team. I mean, when you see it on the big screen, obviously these guys are incredible athletes. They put in the effort. You could tell they were so tired. By the last 15 minutes, it was like this team was beaten down. They were so tired. They were outplayed. But
for sure,
so sad. What do we do next? What do we talk about doing?
Well, do we want to look at the live shot of the building in New York City?
Let's do that.
All right.
Yes. Kara, thank you for the reminder. Yes, we have been following this news out of New York City. This is a live shot right now of a 37-story building. It's a former Pfizer office building that has been converted or is in the process of being converted to residences, to apartments. But today, this morning, when construction workers were in there working, they discovered that there were some problems with the structure. So they discovered 2 steel beams had buckled, so 2 support columns had buckled, and engineers are currently working to stabilize the building. But once they noticed that those beams were buckled, then they saw that the floors, the 21st and the 22nd floors, were sagging. And that is when the construction workers notified emergency responders. They evacuated the building. A nearby school, nearby hotel, neighborhoods evacuated. The streets are closed. And it doesn't look like there's an end to this anytime soon.
No, they said this is going to go through the night. I mean, they have said that this isn't necessarily going to means that this doesn't necessarily mean that the entire building is going to collapse. It's a partial collapse, if anything.
So the New York City Mayor, Zohran Mamdani, said that the concern was that the building was still moving hours after the incident was reported.
Because it started at 8 a.m. and then it was moving up until this afternoon.
That is scary. Officials have said that there is no risk of the building completely collapsing, but they have not ruled out that a partial collapse could happen. So we'll continue to take a look at that live shot of the building and follow that story throughout the day. Just a wild scene there out of New York City. This is happening right near Grand Central Terminal on 42nd Street. And officials have indicated that those streets will remain closed and that this will go on into the night as they try to make sure that the building is safe before they let people return to the area. All right, switching gears here, we do have to talk a little bit about weather. Meteorologist Erica Mrazek joins me now. Erica, we do have some wet weather moving into the region this evening.
Moving eastward, it'll continue to rumble on as it goes east throughout the afternoon. I expect it to perhaps break up, but then there are some more rounds and clusters of some showers and some storms on the way. So let's time out the rest of this afternoon and into the evening, also overnight. There is a severe weather risk, level 2 for the West Metro and places closer to the Dakotas, and then level 1 for the East Metro into western Wisconsin. And that continues throughout the afternoon, the evening, and into the early parts of your overnight. So at first, these are just some isolated cells. Then they become more of a cluster as they drop from the west-northwest and go east-southeast throughout the overnight. And with this, the biggest risk I'm looking at is winds. There's also a chance for hail as well as perhaps 1 or 2 isolated tornadoes. And then throughout the overnight, that's whenever you start to see more of a flood risk as well, because heavy downpours are possible. It's been pretty wet lately, so rain on top of rain just gives you that risk for flooding. Flood watch from the eastern part of the state out towards the west, but only in the central area. So it's places like Brainerd. And for that, there could be perhaps 2 to 3 inches of rain for some, and even some local spots that get maybe even 4. So some heavy rain on the way for some throughout the overnight. Tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up to a few more showers as they continue to go south and east. So morning commute, expect wet weather. And then in the afternoon, some isolated to scattered showers possible as they head towards the southeastern part of Minnesota. For tomorrow, this severe risk shifts southeastward. So a level 2 risk for places around Rochester and Winona, level 1 risk for the metro. No severe weather risk for those around the Cabin Country area and out towards the west. After that, it's going to dry out by Wednesday night, and then the rest of your week looking pretty quiet. Seasonal temperatures are going to also make a return, but only for about 2 days. That'll be tomorrow, also on Thursday and parts of Friday. But then after that, huge warm up. Temperatures are going to reach highs in the low 90s, and then dew points are pretty warm too. So perhaps there could even be some heat indices. Heat feels like temperatures in the triple digits, maybe for some 90s for others. But it's going to be sunny and quiet that period. Not much rain expected for the weekend and into the start of next week, but definitely a ton of hot weather, Courtney. So the summer-like heat wave is going to be back in a couple days.
I don't mind. Let me remind you, Erica, come February, you are going to be begging for this weather.
That's what I've heard, and I choose to believe the people that tell me that. So.
Listen, you can always cool down, but it is hard to warm up. I know
agree.
most people here will tell you the opposite. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I'm a fan of putting on layers in the winter, but if you're too hot, there's nothing you can do except for go in a pool. So it's a lot easier to cope with a cold, in my opinion.
All right, Erica, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. After dangerous heat forced the Twin Cities Marathon to cancel back in 2023, organizers of the marathon have now decided to move the race to mid-October in hopes of giving runners cooler, safer conditions. Dean Orton from Twin Cities in Motion joins us now. Dean, tell us about this decision to move the marathon.
Yes, thank you for having me today. Yeah, absolutely. Been obviously 2023 was a beginning point. It's been a multi-year review where we've been involved with climatologists, our doctors, medical, public community safety, all those folks to really go through a very thorough process. And at the end of the day, it became very clear in terms of a more favorable weather profile and the likelihood of those ideal conditions. It was just very clear that by moving back a couple of weeks, that mid-October timeframe would really make a difference for participant safety, runner experience. And again, you can run in yellow, red, you certainly can't run in black, but we wanted the conditions where it would be ideal and just feel like we're gaining significantly that probability by this date change.
Was 2023 the turning point where you guys decided this has got to happen, or was it a longer process and was it a discussion long before that?
I think for 45 years, every year is a commitment to just constantly evaluating how do you get better? What do we steward the future? Certainly heat and these conditions weren't new prior to 23. We'd had some very difficult years before then. But yeah, 2023 really gave it another level of experiencing our very first ever having to have black conditions, temperatures well into the 90s. And so from that, though, we made a commitment to visit it, revisit it again. So it really ended up being kind of a multi-year, including up to the last few years of data over the last 5. So yeah, combination, but certainly 23 played a key role.
You're only moving it a few weeks. What does your data show about mid-October? Does your data show that it's a lot safer in mid-October as opposed to the beginning?
Yeah, so there's a volume of data I could refer to, but just in the simplest of an analysis, we've had the last 5 years, we've only had 2 years of green level ideal conditions. Had we made the same decision and been in that mid-October, we'd have been 5 for 5 for ideal conditions. So, significantly, less than 500 batting average to that kind of certainty. So we see probabilities that we're in the 80%, going to 98% in the things that we look at for humidity, temperature, all those things that make up ideal running conditions.
Well, you touched on this at the beginning of our chat, but moving a marathon is not as simple as just moving a date on the calendar. What all goes in to moving the date, especially for a marathon that's been happening on essentially the same weekend for many, many, many years?
Yeah, no, thank you. It certainly is. One of our guiding criteria was a binary kind of logistics checklist, which was extensively long. You had to go through all the things that needed to be true from infrastructure standpoint. And so when you start to think about hotels and lodging and tourism, is there other major dates? Is there capacity? When you think about reserving the Capitol grounds and our iconic finish, can we make sure that's in place? An expo for 42,000 people that's on a Friday, Saturday, is those facilities available? Then you have all the calendars for first responders, our police, all the permits that go in across the board, and can they be secured? So, again, it was a lot of those logistics binarily. When we looked at our options of where we could move, we had to feel like those boxes could be a yes. And then, of course, what drove it the most was there safety and experience upside relative to making sure the logistics were there as well.
You do attract some professional runners. Will this change how people train for the marathon?
Absolutely. Our pro field is one of the best for 10 mile. We have a wonderful pro field for marathon. I do think this time frame does not shift too much in the calendar relative to the other dates that professionals look at. And so I think in that sense, we're in pretty good shape. Historically, we've been just before Chicago. Now we'll be mostly a week after. So I think we've managed to not land on, major other dates when it comes to those considerations.
Do you have to consult with other major marathons before you make a move like this?
No, there's no formal agreement, although we did reach out to some of the other dates, some of the other marathons that were on our date, especially in Minnesota. So heightened level of sensitivity, what can we do to work together? But at the end of the day, lots of change happens all over the place, and you just have to navigate as best you can.
You're a runner yourself. What would you say the perfect weather is for a marathon?
Well, I tell you what, when you can start, we looked at those overnight lows, and when you can start in the morning and those high 40s, low 50s, low humidity, those are the kind of ideal conditions. And in the past few years, we've been starting at 70 degrees with added humidity. So again, it only gets hotter. And again, this is when you think about 10 miles or the marathon where people are out on course 6.5 hours now. Again, you want to start nice, cool, and crisp with low humidity. And again, we think that's going to be where we'll find it in mid-October more often.
There might be people watching who say, oh, come on, Minnesotans are so soft. Like, you can't run in a little bit of heat. People do it in Florida. People do it in North Carolina. Why?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely. There's no doubt you can. We just did a wonderful double play 5K race here in July 1st with the St. Paul Saints. And yes, we did. We ran an 80-degree temperature. But what we really want is, it's fall. It is beautiful. We want the most iconic, beautiful conditions. And yeah, there's just, why not, if we can find green where you really have those ideal and safe conditions, we can prove we can run in yellow and red. But I think what we're really after is, let's help assure more ideal conditions. Our field, when there's 30,000 folks participating in one of the nation's largest marathons, they literally run millions of training miles in preparation to get to that start line. And for us, we know that is a lot of work, and it is a commitment financially on all levels. And so anything we can do to assure, that weather is there for them to have their best day, those are the things that drive us forward. We understand we can, we could stay or we could get by with yellow or red, but why when we can find better opportunities given how much work is put into it?
And just to be clear, the marathon will go on its usual date this year. This all kicks in 2027.
Yeah, absolutely. 2026 is all locked up. And by the way, we are sold out on the 10 miler, but if you'd like, charities still have some availability. And the marathon is literally a day or so away. We're under 300 registrations, I think under 200 now registrations. So if you're thinking about this year, you better make your decision quick. We'd love to have you.
Won't be me, Dean, but
we'll keep working on you, okay?
My running days are over. I'm good. I do.
We love it if you walk as well. We'll figure that out too.
Gravity sports only for me. Downhill only. Dean Orton from the Twin Cities in Motion. We sure appreciate you joining us to talk about this change in date for the Twin Cities Marathon. Thanks, Dean.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Well, as we do here at Fox 9 this time of year, we are continuing our Town Ball series. Tonight, Town Ball is taking place in Brownton, Minnesota. That's just south of Hutchinson, about an hour west of where we are now in the Twin Cities Metro. Pierre Nugent joins us now. Pierre, ready for some baseball?
Absolutely, Courtney. You know I'm always ready for some baseball, but in my years covering Town Ball, I think you know that I'm probably more ready to try out who's got the best burger, who's got the best hot dog. So I'm expecting Brownton to put forward a very good effort here tonight in that department. We'll have to review and report back later on that. But yes, we've got some baseball coming up later on at 7 o'clock. We've got a youth baseball game happening behind me right now, but I think everybody is ready here tonight for some baseball, no doubt about it.
Okay, so whenever we go to these tournaments, these are always usually small towns where Town Ball is, you know, one of the main attractions in town. And sometimes they've got some quirky stuff going on. I think a couple weeks ago I saw Batmobile at the field. Any uniqueness happening there in Brownton?
Probably not to that degree, but it's still early. I haven't seen anything on that level just yet. However, I did see a bunch of kids playing ring toss with Powerade bottles, if that counts at all. But I haven't seen anything up to a Batmobile level type yet. But like I said, Courtney, it's still early. We are about a little under 3 hours from first pitch here tonight between Brownton and Glencoe. So in the meantime, I will be on the lookout for the quirkiness and the fun and all the good stuff that Town Ball comes with.
What's your favorite part of doing these Town Ball series? I know you don't get to go to every single one of them, but what's your favorite part when you do?
Outside of the food, probably, I would say, it's so fun to see people come together, really, and it's a little slice of Americana. It's something I love to see. It's an opportunity to see a city or a town that I've never been to before and see how they operate and how they enjoy the baseball and how they just love getting together. Very community feel, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. I think it's a lot of fun. It's something unique that you won't find much place else in the country. So I think it's that unique aspect of community and togetherness, Courtney, that I think is fun for me to really see everybody come down to the ballpark, enjoy a game, enjoy an easy night out in the summertime. So that's probably my favorite part, I'd say.
You know, you and I grew up in California, and I don't remember having anything like this where we're from. This is a unique, I think it's unique to the Midwest. Maybe it's unique to Minnesota. I don't know. For those who don't know or might be watching in a different region of the country, can you just briefly describe what Town Ball is? Like, who are these people?
Yeah, you have several people, both, former baseball players, whether it's, I think I just got hit in the leg by a baseball here, though, for a second, but I'm good. I think what you have is a group of guys that did play baseball previously in high school, maybe collegiately. We've had even some ball players who have spent time in the major leagues who did play Town Ball in the latter stages of their career. Once their major league days were over, we've seen a couple of people come through and play Town Ball. So it's really adult men's leagues, and it's around the state of Minnesota as these teams compete. And there is, something to be won at the end of the Town Ball season. There is a big tournament at the end of the year for the best Town Ball teams to compete against each other for the ultimate prize. So that is really what it's about. And the unique thing about Town Ball, too, Courtney, is kind of like we mentioned a moment ago. You could have a young man who might still be in high school playing for the Town Ball team, playing alongside a guy who might be in his late 30s, possibly even 40, going up, on the same team. That's really what it is. There's rocks being thrown my way. I have a sneaky feeling Ian Leonard is behind it as well. So, but that is the unique part of Town Ball. If people don't know what it is. That's really kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, it's not your simple beer league. Can you tell Ian to leave you alone? Does the guy not work? Come on,
yeah,
he's got
seriously,
nothing better to do?
I'm pretty sure it's him. Yeah, I see rocks and he just tried to hide from me. Can we get a shot of him to ensure? Yeah, see, I told you, rocks thrown my way. He's going to be in the HR office before he knows it when he goes back. So I know he's trying to distract me. He did a pretty good job of it so far. So we got to thanks to Ian Leonard.
Take
and
out
actually, speaking of Ian Leonard, he's going to have our forecast coming up tonight at 5 o'clock. Yeah, I mean, coming up time, but we might have some rain. The clouds are a little ominous in the distance here. We're hoping to avoid it and avoid a rainout situation here. So we're going to keep our eye on the forecast, and hopefully we can get this game going tonight at 7 o'clock.
Okay, Pierre, he's a meteorologist too. Who knew? Pierre, I appreciate you for previewing previewing Town Ball for us. Like you mentioned, Fox 9 will be live doing our broadcast, our 5 and 6 o'clock broadcast live from Brownton there, where Town Ball is taking place tonight. Pierre, thank you.
Thank you, Court.
All right, let's look at Town Ball. Always a good time. And if you aren't able to catch the 5 o'clock newscasts on your TV, you can always stream them on fox9.com/live or our YouTube channels. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the part of the show where we like to take a look at what is trending on social media in a segment that we call, Wait, What's Happening? As in, what's happening on the internet? Sometimes not as fun and bubbly, sometimes more serious. This one is just disturbing. 3 teenage girls in California were arrested on suspicion of arson after police say they hurled a lit firecracker through the window of a California home. You see them doing it there and then running off, setting an unborn baby's nursery ablaze just 2 weeks before his expected arrival date. You can see the damage there, these images shared by the family. But the fire broke out around 7 p.m. on Tuesday at a home near Sacramento. The father says he was playing a video game elsewhere in the home when his wife alerted him that the house was on fire. After opening the nursery door and seeing the bed engulfed in flames, he grabbed a garden hose and kept the blaze under control until firefighters arrived. Police say the fire stemmed from an earlier disagreement involving one of the girls who lives at the home. Kara, I know this one is sad. It's disappointing to see teenagers acting in such a way. You know, if you have a disagreement, you should certainly not solve it like that.
No.
But on the positive side, one of their family members did start a GoFundMe, and it's already raised like $20,000 for them to fix up the nursery, rebuy all of the items, because as you can see, everything is, if it wasn't burned, it was smoke damage. So they have raised $20,000 to replace all the items and repair the nursery.
Well, that's good news. There's
some good news there.
Some good news. I mean, I wish they didn't ever have to start a GoFundMe, but
this is a lesson in why you should absolutely always have cameras set up outside your home.
Yes.
Like, what did we do 15 years ago before these cameras? Because people were just committing crimes and getting away with them.
Yeah.
So there you go.
No teenagers can even TP a house anymore.
Truly, you cannot. All right, in other fireworks news, passengers riding a Waymo were terrified as their vehicle drove straight into lit fireworks during 4th of July celebrations in San Francisco, California. This footage was captured by one of the passengers who, in the video, can be heard yelling as their Waymo approaches the pyrotechnic display before it just drives right through it. The individual said that she was in such shock, she was speechless. She was quoted saying, "I couldn't believe I trusted this car with my life, and it almost put me in a life-threatening accident." Her and the other passenger were okay. They just said that the person who lit the firework reached out to her on Instagram and did apologize. Well, thank goodness, because I was going to say, Kara, I was raised right outside San Francisco. This is highly illegal.
Yeah. I mean, I see they're in the middle of an intersection.
Yeah, the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And that is clearly the city. Like, that is in the middle of the city.
Right.
This is a city that is a very car-heavy city. Most people own cars in San Francisco, so there's a lot of traffic. And you're just lighting off a firework in the street? Like, first of all...
Right. But also, these are the things that are unpredictable. You know, these things happen. And so when you're getting in a Waymo, you're not necessarily thinking that someone's going to be lighting off a firework on your route. I don't know. This is why I would not get in a Waymo.
I don't blame the Waymo, though.
I don't blame the Waymo, but this also gives me more reason to not ride in a Waymo.
Yes, because it obviously proves that the technology in the Waymos cannot account for changing conditions.
Right.
You know, what if it wasn't a firework? What if it was a flood? You know, and the car couldn't sense the rising water and it drove right into the flood?
I wonder about like potholes and stuff like that too.
That's a great point.
I think that's probably something that is a big thing. But also, like, if they're coming to Minnesota, ice on the road. I don't know. Whatever.
And that has been an argument. Waymo has rolled out a test series in Minneapolis. I actually saw some of the Waymo cars charging in Minneapolis just last week as they are testing them in the city. So we expect that they will be coming to Minnesota, and that has been an expressed concern.
Right.
That the technology in these cars doesn't know how to account for icy roads. You know, what does the car do when it hits a sheet of ice?
I think, and ultimately the control freak in me could not do a Waymo, but
I've done them in other cities. It's a lot cheaper.
Right, that is a plus.
It's a lot cheaper than the other ride services, and it's very easy, very, very, very easy, super efficient. It does drive very cautiously, so it's always driving in the slow lane. It's driving the speed limit or less. So if you're in a hurry, I would say go with a real person. But I've never felt unsafe. It's a little weird when you get in one for the first time. You know, you have a tendency to like take a photo and send it to all your friends. Like, look, I'm in a car.
Course. Yeah.
I'm in a car with no driver. My kid just thought it was the coolest thing when we sent him a video of it. But once you do it once, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, this is the future.
Yeah,
Next.
I mean, it makes sense. I do love the videos of, you know, the little food delivery robots getting caught with a Waymo, and they don't really quite know what to do with themselves.
Yeah, it's like a robot war.
It's a robot war.
Robot versus robot.
I do love those videos, but if I was in that Waymo, I would be very impatient.
Well, and the concern, my concern, last thought on this, is that the firework, like, is there like, I don't know, like, what if there's some kind of electricity panel on the bottom side of that car and it just drove over the firework and something sparked? I don't know.
I don't know.
Sounds a little paranoid, but
I would also be speechless if I was in that situation.
do you think that the person got a refund on their Waymo ride for this?
I don't know, because I feel like Waymo could argue like this isn't necessarily our fault.
Yeah. Well,
but I hope they got something out of it.
We will see. In other news, also out of California, all these videos going viral today are out of California. A fairgoer, I saw this a couple days ago and I couldn't believe what I was watching, but a fairgoer captured this terrifying moment that a skydiver crashed while descending into a sold-out rodeo in Folsom, California on Thursday. Oh my gosh. Krista Nicole Hefner, who took this video, says she was in the stands with her friends watching the Folsom Pro Rodeo when the parachuter was performing a stunt with the large U.S. flag. Usually these individuals come down when they're doing the national anthem. This is how they bring in the flag during the anthem. But as this one came down, she said when he crashed, she said she felt frightened. I was concerned for him. He landed just a few feet away from the person. And you can see that the flag kind of attaches it gets snagged on a tree and it causes the performer to crash into a tent. According to a rodeo spokesperson, the skydiver was doing well. He had a small cut over his lip, but that he would be jumping again.
Just a small cut and he's fine?
He's fine.
All right. What I don't understand is, did they have the route, you know, planned and they thought maybe, oh, that tree could be a problem?
I guess things can change.
Things can change.
The tree came out of nowhere, Kara.
Someone put that tree there.
Who put that tree there? I don't know. I've seen these. It's really cool when you see these stunt jumpers. Like I said, they usually, like Gopher games, you've seen these guys at Gopher games before. Yeah. They usually jump in while the national anthem is playing and they're carrying the flag, and it's just a really unique, cool way to, you know, display the flag during the national anthem. But jumping into a stadium, there's no risk of a tree branch catching you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess I have a lot of questions. I feel like there were a lot of things that maybe were not planned out correctly, but
usually
I'm glad
he's
okay.
Yeah, usually these guys are pretty precise. So clearly his measurements were a little off when he. I imagine he was planning to land in the corral at the rodeo and missed his mark. So he miscalculated something. But yeah, like you said, he's okay, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and I'm glad he didn't land on the fence or something like that.
That
was what I was scared of. That's what I thought was going to happen there.
That would be a very different story. We would be reporting something very different today if that was the case.
Yes. But he's okay.
He is okay, and
he's going to do it.
He says he's going to jump again.
That seems like the right person to be doing this.
The right person for the job, Kara. Yep. All right. Thanks for helping me out with that, Kara. We'll see you in a little bit. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Thanks for joining us here on Fox 9 all day. Well, we do have some rain coming into the area this evening. It has been nice and warm, but it's going to be a little wet tonight. Erica Mrazek joins me now. Erica, you actually escaped the hot weather for the last couple of weeks. Now you're back in action, I guess.
Yeah, I am, and the heat's coming back too, so that's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
But today, temperatures, they are really warm. It's also going to turn a little bit stormy for those who haven't already seen those showers and storms across the area. So in the metro right now, still quiet and dry. Towards the west, though, there are just a couple isolated showers and storms. I want to zoom in on this one cluster right around Renville in Meeker counties. This was warned before, and it had a history of dropping some hail, but now no longer warned, but it is still rumbling eastward throughout the afternoon. And then elsewhere, just some light showers possible in some spots around the Brainerd region, as well as towards the north and the west around once you get closer to North Dakota. And then throughout the rest of today, expect the chance for showers and storms to increase, actually. Level 2 threat for severe weather for the West Metro and counties westward, and then a level 1 threat for the East Metro into western Wisconsin. Now, with that, the biggest threat I'm watching is some winds, and there's also a threat for hail, and then a very low threat for just an isolated tornado or two. And then also heavy downpours. So that's going to bring the chance for some flooding for localized spots. Not going to be for everyone, but with the heavy rain and all of the recent rainfall that we have received, that leads to that training of cells and wet areas. So watch out for areas that could be flooded tonight that are low-lying and flood-prone. And then for tomorrow, you might wake up to a few showers early for your morning commute. And then in addition, flood watch out starting tonight, ending at 7 a.m. on Wednesday. Showers will still be moving on Wednesday. They'll head south and eastward. Tomorrow, there's a threat for some severe weather. Level 2 risk for places around Winona and Rochester. Level 1 risk for the metro. And no severe weather risk up north or west for Wednesday. This is going to be later in the day, afternoon, evening time frame. Also, all threats possible, but that biggest risk is going to be that wind again for Wednesday. And then by Wednesday night, the storms will be out of the area. It begins to dry out by the midnight hour for Wednesday into Thursday, and the clouds will clear for Thursday. So some nicer, quieter weather expected after that. Seasonable temperatures will be here after the rain, so highs mid to low 80s, right where they should be for this time of year for tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. But then it starts to get a lot warmer with high temperatures that'll be in the mid to low 90s, and it's going to be a touch humid too. So that's going to make it feel even stickier for the weekend and for the start of next week. Also, it's going to be pretty dry for this period. It'll be super hot, but not many chances at all for rain in the forecast throughout the weekend and into the start of next week, Courtney. So hot and dry weather is ahead, but humid weather too.
As your colleague Jared Piepenberg said, it's air you can wear. And that is a term I have been using ever since he shared it with me. So
Quite
I'm
literally.
stealing it.
Yeah, it's going to be the days where you don't want to curl your hair because what's the point? It's just going to fall out.
So I am, that is true. I don't even try. I am supposed to golf tomorrow, Erica. So you said tomorrow, it's going to continue into tomorrow. So by tomorrow evening, is the rain gone?
So it depends where you're golfing at.
Minneapolis.
Okay, you should be all right. If you were golfing southeast Minnesota, I would say it's probably not best weather for a tee time. But I think in Minneapolis, there could be just a few random showers at times and rumbles, but I wouldn't cancel your golf plans tomorrow.
Okay, I'm going to keep them. We'll check back in with you tomorrow. You'll update my personal weather forecast for my tee time.
Always.
I appreciate it, Erica. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, I'm going to bring in my producer, Kara Savage, because, Kara, we got to talk about this. Apparently, there are individuals in New York City selling trash from Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's wedding at Madison Square Garden. $25 a bag of trash.
Yep, and not even just trash. Someone is selling for $50,000 a bag of air that was collected inside of Madison Square Garden during the wedding.
It seems ridiculous, but actually it has gotten 200 views. So
yes.
there is interest, I guess, in the air. What do you do with the bag of air?
Well, my question is, like, is it interest or is it just people are like, this is insane, let me click on this link?
I don't know. Like, if someone is dumb enough to buy a bag of air, I lose hope in society. The trash, okay, $25 for a bag of trash. You know, there are people who I guess this is like a company. It's called New York City Trash. It is New York City Garbage, and they sell bags of New York City trash because, I mean, you could find some treasures. You know, New York City is home to some of the world's highest level aristocrats, and goodness knows what they're throwing away. So I do understand that this is a business that exists. I'm not digging through trash.
No,
personally.
me neither. No, thank you.
I would like to know what, like, an average, you know, if they're outside, I don't know, some other celebrity's home picking up a bag of trash, like, how much does that bag go for?
I've seen, like, there's a Facebook group in New York that's like New York City Trash, but it's more of like people that put furniture and stuff, random stuff like that on the streets. People can go grab it. That makes sense.
Would you buy a $25 bag of trash from outside?
No.
Okay. No. You might miss out on some treasures from the wedding. You never know.
I mean, maybe I'll drop $50,000 on a bag of air.
I would judge you.
Just kidding. I would too. I would judge anyone who did that.
All right, Kara, thanks for chugging along with me today. And thank you to our viewers for watching. We'll be back tomorrow starting 11. I'll be back here on the desk starting at 2. We hope that you join us then. Have a great day.